Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to episode 6 of the Pyramid Sports FC podcast. I'm your host, Quinn Blackman, here as usual. And it's been a pretty crazy day in sports today. Outside of the football world, the Olympics had three quarterfinal hockey games going into overtime in Milan, and that ended up with the U.S. heading to the semifinals to play against Slovakia, beating Switzerland or beating Sweden in overtime on a Quinn Hughes goal, and then Canada beat. Who did they beat? They beat the Czech Republic in overtime as well. Unbelievable game. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch that. And then Canada will face off Finland, who ended up coming back and beating Switzerland in their side of the bracket. But anyways, I'm gonna go over some news of this past week in the football world. It was a great week of football, from the FA Cup this weekend to Champions League yesterday and today, and into Arsenal seemingly bottling two more points in the title race. But I'm gonna get right to the FA Cup and give you a little FA Cup roundup here to start. And again, I am really trying to make this podcast understandable for the soccer fan, the football fan who is new to the game. With the World Cup coming up this summer, I want to make sure everyone understands exactly what I'm talking about and why I'm talking about it and what the importance of it is. So I'm going to give, again, a little bit of background here for the FA Cup. The FA Cup is 100-plus-year-old competition in the in England, and it encompasses not only the top four leagues in the English football leagues, the Premier League everyone knows, the Championship, League One, League Two, but also encompasses the non-pro leagues that are below it in the national leagues. So that's what makes it so cool. And we were in the fifth round, I believe, the fourth or the fifth round of the FA Cup. And it was just unbelievable. And for those of you asking, show of the day is the Wrexham kit from last year. Shout out Wrexham. Shout out Rob McElhenney, Philadelphia native. Love you. Love the show. Love It's Always Sunny. Keep inspiring all of us to be great. Anyways, get back to it. So we're going to run through the FA Cup recap of this last weekend. On Friday the 13th, which is crazy. That is Friday the 13th, right before Valentine's Day. Friday the 13th, Hull hosted Chelsea, and Chelsea win 4-0, thanks to a Pedro Neto hat trick in the 40th, 51st, and 71st minute he scored. And Estevao added another fourth goal in the 59th minute. And Chelsea sail past Hull into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, and they will. I'll get to it here in a second. It's a pretty entertaining match that they're going to have in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. It's going to be one you're not going to want to miss. Also on Friday, Wrexham hosted Ipswich Town. Wrexham wins 1-0 off of a Josh Windass goal in the 34th minute. Wrexham advances to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup for the first time in over 40 years, I believe it is. And it is just unbelievable that this club keeps doing this with an over $500 million valuation, roughly. This club was taken from non-league side a couple years ago during COVID. People are going to hate on them, but it's cool. It's cool as shit. And I mean, if you don't want to watch it, if you don't want to root for him, then you got to find something else. I mean, football is all about supporting people and putting people up and loving those around you and being supportive of everything. And no matter rivalries, you can see through it, and no matter jealousy of ownership, because there's so many clubs that would love to have Rob Reynolds or Rob Macklin, excuse me, and Ryan Reynolds as their owners, but can't. And unfortunately, they didn't pick you. And I'm also not a Wrexham fan, not from Wrexham. I'm from South Jersey, but it is really pretty freaking cool to watch on a weekly basis. So, anyways, Wrexham beat Ipswich 1-0. Chelsea beat Hull 4-0 on Friday. Moving to Saturday, West Ham beat Burton Albion 1-0, thanks to a Somerville 95th minute goal in extra time, or in extra time. This was just a tightly fought game, tightly contested, 0-0 after 90 minutes. Takes an extra time. Crescencio Somerville scores a 95th minute goal, a beauty. Just rifles into the back of the net, and West Ham move on to the next round into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Man City played host to Salford City, the League Two side, and they have not looked great recently. Man City have not been playing their best football, going back to the game against Bodo Glimt in the Champions League when they went up there to the Arctic Circle and ended up refunding traveling fans who went to the game because of how poor their performance was. And they, in turn, come back and don't play their greatest game against a League Two side as one of the greatest clubs in the world. They go up 1-0 on an own goal in the 6th minute. And then in the 81st minute, Mark Gahey tacked on a second one to make it 2-0 and send City through to the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, which all performances aside is a great achievement for them, and is going to continue their push to win trophies this season. But they need to get into better form and get into better shape, because this style of City that will only beat a League Two side 2-0 at home, that's concerning, and that puts, I think that continues to stoke the fire of Pep being on the hot seat no matter how well they do. It just kind of seems like he's getting to the end of his reign with City, and he can only do so much more. And Pep ball is it just it's funny saying this for a team that, for a side that's second in the Premier League right now, but they do need to start playing better. Moving forward, Norwich played host to West Brom, beat them 3-1. Mansfield beat Burnley 2-1. Southampton over Leicester 2-1. All three of those sides, Norwich, Burnley, or excuse me, Mansfield and Southampton, moving on to the round of 16 in the FA Cup. Continuing, Aston Villa lose at home to Newcastle 3-1. Newcastle 3, Aston Villa 1. Nick Voldemade scored his first goal since Christmas in the 88th minute, which was a big time goal for the player. He has been openly upset with how things have gone, with Johan Visa starting to play a little bit more, and he just really hasn't adjusted as well as we all had hoped he was going to the Premier League. Although he has this huge size, he came off to this blistering start. The player has not played up to his standard the last couple of months, and he has been rumored again back to Germany. Bayern has shown interest in the player, and he could potentially be making a move back to Germany this summer for, I would assume, a pretty hefty fee, but one that will end up losing Newcastle some money if I were to assume. But also, Newcastle gets their other two goals from Sandro Tonali, the player that was rumored for a move to Arsenal before the transfer window closed, who did not entertain the option, although there are now rumors that he will leave in the summer. But he puts a brace in the second half, 63rd minute and the 76th minute, to push Newcastle through, end up scoring that winning goal in the 76th minute. Newcastle beat Aston Villa 3-1, moving on to the round of 16 in the FA Cup. Continuing on, Liverpool played host to Brighton. Liverpool win 3-0 thanks to goals from Curtis Jones in the 42nd minute, Dominic Szoboszlai in the 56th minute with another banger, and Mo Salah in the 68th minute scoring a penalty. And Liverpool, they are pretty on and off. It's week to week with them. I think they haven't lost too many matches since that consecutive streak they had before the new year, when they were losing match after match after match. However, I do think that they're in trouble of not making the Champions League. The top five of the table is pretty tight right now, so they need to do some work in league play. However, they are advancing thanks to a 3-0 win over Brighton to this round of 16 in the FA Cup. Moving on, Arsenal 4, Wigan Athletic 0. Arsenal really needed this, and it's a shame that we're going to have to talk about what happened today later. But Arsenal go up 4-0. Noni Madueke scores a brilliant goal in the 11th minute, assisted by Eberechi Eze, and added on in the 18th minute, Gabriel Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus in the 27th, mixed in there with an own goal in the 23rd minute, making it 4-0 going into half, which the score would stay 4-0 after the second half. Unfortunate for Arsenal because, again, it seems like they sit on their hands, go sideways and backwards, and can't put up another goal against a Wigan side that was dead to rights. With that squad depth, you can't go 0-0 in the second half against Wigan Athletic. I'm sorry. Arsenal win 4-0, moving into the round of 16 of the FA Cup, keeping their quadruple hopes alive. Birmingham, Leeds 1-1. Leeds wins on PKs at Birmingham. This was an unbelievable game, just absolute riot. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. This was the game that I chose to watch on Saturday morning live, and it was just phenomenal football to watch. It was dirty uniform after dirty uniform, guys getting stuck in, fans getting rowdy. There's a Birmingham fan was seen holding up a wiener dog. If you didn't see that, go find that. I'll put a picture in right here. Birmingham wiener dog guy. That was incredible. Birmingham ended up, they just take it to extra time, goes scoreless in extra time, take it to PKs. A Birmingham player rifled one over the bar. Can't remember who it was. American Brendan Aronson slotted home a beautiful penalty, and Leeds end up winning on penalties, advancing to the round of 16 in the FA Cup. Moving forward, Grimsby lose to Wolves 1-0. Oxford United lose to Sunderland 1-0. Stoke lose to Fulham 2-1. And Brazilian sensation Kevin, who came over this January transfer window, scores another goal in the 55th minute for Fulham, a beauty. And that is just a guy that is just going to be class. He might be one of those ones for Brazil. I hope he makes the World Cup squad, but he's going to be a problem moving forward. Kevin gets another goal in the FA Cup. Brentford go to non-league Macclesfield and edge past them thanks to a second half own goal. The Macclesfield Wonder story. They had one of their young talents die, passed away in a car accident after one of their games a couple months ago, and they ended up beating cup holders Palace in the previous round, and they go and host Brentford and get two Premier League sides at their grounds, a very small ground, National League ground, and they end up losing 1-0 on an own goal in the second half. And I mean, if you're a Macclesfield fan, that's all. There's nothing more you can ask for. They gave you the cup run of a lifetime and something that those fans will never forget. So rounding up, that will round up the round of or the fifth round of the FA Cup, or the fourth round of the FA Cup, excuse me, the fifth round draw, which is also known as 4, 6, 8, the round of 16 in the FA Cup. I don't know why they just don't call it that, but they call it their fifth round draw. Fifth round draw goes like this: Fulham will play host to Southampton. Port Vale or Bristol City. A game was postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. Will the winner of that match in the fourth round will move on to play Sunderland. Newcastle will play Man City again after playing them in the Carabao Cup. We're going to see how Newcastle can do because they bludgeoned. They put up an unbelievable display today in the Champions League, but we'll get to that in a second. But Man City and Newcastle, that's another one to watch because those two teams have played each other a lot over the past few months. Leeds, Norwich, Mansfield Town, which is the League One side, Mansfield Town. They will play host to Arsenal, which will be it's not that it is a game that Arsenal isn't expected to win because they should win. They're at the top of the league in the pyramid. However, going Mansfield Town away is much more difficult than Mansfield Town at the Emirates. Look out for that game. Wolves play host to Liverpool. West Ham versus Brentford, and then the match that I am most excited for. Wrexham are hosting Chelsea at the racecourse ground. And this is seemingly the culmination of 5 years of ownership for Rob Reynolds and Ryan McElhenney. And they truly they've done the thing. And apologies for the change in lighting. I was being an idiot and I had my water bottle in front of my light. So apologies for that. But Wrexham are hosting Chelsea at the racecourse ground, and it's going to be scenes. It's going to be absolute scenes. I expect to see all the stars out. And for those of you that are bitter about Wrexham, those of you that want to or that are jealous of them and that think that the only reason they're here is because of their Hollywood owners, I think that you need to reframe how you look at it because this is something that is unbelievably cool. And as an American football fan, it is something that I don't think I've ever seen. And now you're seeing guys like, I mean, LeBron has always he's been an investor in Liverpool for a while. Tom Brady now in Birmingham City. You're about to see a lot of these big name celebrities investing more and more money into football clubs because there's so much potential in all of these towns. And Wrexham being such a mining town that it is, and a historic town, being the national or the stadium that the Welsh national team played their matches at for so long. They're a town that deserves it, and it's going to be unbelievable to see Chelsea play Wrexham at the racecourse ground. And now, moving on to the Champions League. Yesterday, the 17th of February, we had the first round or the first set of knockout round matches in the Champions League. We started with Galatasaray hosting Juventus, and they ended up winning 5-2. However, this was a crazy game. Juve go up 2-1 at the 32nd minute, thanks to a Tyne Cup Miners brace. Two fantastic goals, one on a rebound, one was just a brilliant strike from just inside the 18. But they go up 2-1, Juve does, and then Galatasaray puts up 4 straight goals to take the win and put them in a great position to advance to the next round of the Champions League, up 5-2 on aggregate, going to Juventus. Excuse me. But this was a huge match for Galatasaray. But also, again, I wanted to highlight Weston McKennie did fantastic things playing as the number nine this match, as he is, as many of you know from listening to previous podcasts, he is a player who is not traditionally a number nine. He came up as a midfielder and plays midfield for the U.S. men's national team his whole career. However, now he's been moved into this false nine role, and I could really see him taking into a more forward-looking role for the national team in the summer. And in my predictions, I had him as a central midfielder, but I think there's a world where we see him on a wing opposite of Christian Pulisic, flanking Flo Balogun. Moving on to that Monaco versus PSG game, Monaco hosted Paris Saint-Germain, the reigning champions of the Champions League. And in the first 25 or 30 minutes, Flo Balogun picks up a brace. And the first one was a header within the first 50 seconds of the match. And the second was a beautiful finish. Um, and he's just a player that's coming into form at just the perfect time. And I think this is going to be very big news for the men's national team. But Desiree Doué picked up 2 goals. Hakimi picked up another goal. Both of Desiree Doué's goals were just absolute classic. Hakimi scored on a rebound, kind of a chop shot across the mouth of goal, and PSG win. I believe it was 3-2. Let me fact check that. I don't know why I don't have that in my notes. Paris Saint-Germain yes, they beat Monaco 3-2 at Monaco, and are set themselves up for in a good position heading back to Paris for the next leg. Moving on, Dortmund beat Atalanta 2-0. Not much to say about that game. It was just very well played by Dortmund. They won at home, and they played their style of football and played physically. And Atalanta is a club that lost some key players during the January transfer window, so they have not been in their best form in cup play, in European play. However, we're going to go to the Benfica Real Madrid game. This was quite incredible because it was at Estadio da Luz in Lisbon, a stadium I've been to. I have their scarf right over there. However, it was a night to forget for the Benfica fans, for the players, for the gaffer, for the social media team, because Vinny scores in the 50th minute and scores an unbelievable goal. Picks up a yellow card for his celebration, and I'm not gonna name the player's name because I don't really want to, but the a player for Benfica supposedly said made racist comments towards Vinicius Jr. And it is now the 15th time that Vinicius Jr. has faced this type of thing in his footballing career. And if you haven't watched Thierry Henry's comments and Michael Richards' comments on this, I encourage you to do so. You can go look it up on YouTube, look up Champions League team on this Vinicius Jr. situation, and it sums it up pretty perfectly in that there is no room for racism in football. It it encourages hate. It encourages divisiveness. And it is against everything that football is, which is a sport to bring people together no matter the age, their race, their language they speak, their nationality. That's why there's the biggest sporting event in the world every 4 years. And I truly can't put into words how disappointed I am because Jose Mourinho didn't seem to want to denounce his players saying these things after the match. Benfica's team, their social media put out a post saying that there's no way they could have heard him. They weren't close enough to hear him. He put his shirt over his mouth. Well, why did the guy put his shirt over his mouth if he was going to say something nice? If he wasn't going to say something completely ridiculous that solicited an unbelievable reaction from Vinny running straight over to the referee. And honestly, props to Vinicius Jr. because the self control of that man right there in that moment, in one of the scoring a huge goal in one of the most hostile environments, having played them so recently there, being booed every time you're on the ball, and then get calling and then having racist things said towards you. I applaud him for not acting differently and potentially escalating the situation more because that it's just unacceptable. And um, Jose Mourinho ended up getting sent off, and it's just I don't know what else to say. We as football fans, we need to come together and stop this because the last thing you want is a situation where people feel unwelcome, and there is no situation where someone should feel unwelcome playing football or talking about football or being in my shoes and not having played football past the second grade. Yet I still love it, and I love the communal aspect of it, and that's why I love to talk about it once a week with you all, because it brings so many people together and brings so much joy to people. And you know how you end that pretty quickly is by being a racist, and there it's despicable, it's disgusting, and there's no room for it in football. So I'm going to leave it at that. Moving on, Newcastle today, the 18th of February, absolutely demolish Carabao FK 6-1 with Anthony Gordon scoring 4 goals and putting now having the record for most goals in a Champions League campaign. I believe it's 10 out of a Newcastle player. Unbelievable. This guy's value is going through the roof. Liverpool and Arsenal linked to him in the summer. He's from Liverpool. Could see that happening. I think Newcastle have to sell him this summer as values at his peak because they need some help in other aspects, but they need the money. And their management doesn't really seem to know how to consistently produce a club that will consistently be developing players, and they don't seem to be getting the players in that. I mean, it's not necessarily one of the most marquee clubs in the Premier League. However, they need to do a better job, and I don't know if it's going to be a change of ownership or a different sporting director, but I do expect them to sell Anthony Gordon. However, shout out Anthony Gordon, one of my favorite players to watch. I have his card in FIFA too, have him on the flank, and or EAFC, not FIFA. And Anthony Gordon, 4 goals, unbelievable. Newcastle go. I mean, they're gonna win. So go to the second leg up 6-1 in aggregate. Next, Bayer Leverkusen beat Olympiacos 2-0 thanks to a Patrick Schick brace in the second half. Club Brugge, they draw. Club Brugge draws with Atletico Madrid 3-3 after being down 2-1. They score or they concede a penalty to Julian Alvarez in the 8th minute. Adamola Lookman scored a goal in added time at the end of the first half. However, Club Brugge comes back, or Club Bruges, excuse me, Club Bruges comes back and draws with Atletico Madrid, which is huge going into their second leg. And it's going to give them a little bit of momentum, I think. So that is going to do that for our Champions League roundup. Thank you all for your interest in the Champions League. I encourage you, if you haven't gotten into the Champions League, I'll give you a breakdown. In the Premier League, typically it's 4 clubs, but it can kind of vary. The top couple teams out of the best leagues in Europe, and not just the best league. It's not just La Liga, Serie A, League One. It's the top teams in the Turkish leagues and the Swedish leagues and the Danish leagues. It's all of the best European clubs come together and play in this huge tournament, and it's going to culminate with the Champions League final, which I believe is in Berlin at Allianz Arena, the home of Bayern Munich. Unbelievable Champions League nights. They have a beautiful anthem. They have the coolest ball ever. It's like a dark gray ball that has stars all over it. When Vinny scored that goal, and watch that thing spin end over end like that, and it's beautiful. Moving on to the MLS opening weekend. Get pumped for the American soccer to start this weekend, Saturday, February 21st. I'm just going to run through the games just to get you all excited. Keep it kind of brief. St. Louis City, Charlotte on Saturday. FC Cincinnati, Atlanta United. DC United, Philadelphia Union. One of Philadelphia Union's big ads is Ezekiel Awada, is a man from Ghana, a striker, cost them £4.5 million or $1 million. He's 20 years old, came from a Swedish side, and he's going to be a big addition. So Ezekiel Alado is going to be one to watch for the Philadelphia Union. DC United is not very good. The Union are perennially a top of the table team in the Eastern Conference. Orlando City plays Red Bull New York. Vancouver Whitecaps play Real Salt Lake. We're going to watch Diego Luna again, one of the most energetic and exciting players to watch in American football. I am so excited to watch him on the World Cup stage because he's the type of guy that you want on the national team. Not to get on a tangent, plays with his heart on his sleeve, plays for his country, and I love it. Austin FC, Minnesota United. This will be James Rodriguez's first match in a regular season match with Minnesota United, and he is one of the biggest signings, signing until June 2026. World Cup legend, scored one of the most brilliant goals in the 2014 World Cup, and is just a legend of Colombian football and world football. Played at Real Madrid. He's played all over the place, and now he's in Minnesota United. Kind of a shocking deal, by far the biggest player in their club's history, and that'll be unbelievable to watch. FC Dallas, Toronto FC, also on Saturday. On Sunday, or excuse me, on also on Saturday, Houston Dynamo, Chicago Fire. Excuse me. That will be a big time match with the addition for the Houston Dynamo of Guilherme, a Brazilian man who captained the side Santos, who, if you are familiar with Neymar Jr., which I assume most of you are, that is his boyhood club. He went back there last season and helped them avoid relegation in the Brazilian top tier. However, Guilherme was the captain of that squad. He bagged a hat trick in his first appearance in the preseason for Houston Dynamo against Red Bull New York, and he's going to be a fantastic player to watch. Moving on, Nashville SC, excuse me, play New England Revolution. That is a good match that I'm not gonna cover that match specifically, but you will see some content from the Nashville FC park from Geodis Park this season. I'm gonna get over there for a match, and I'm pretty pumped about that. LAFC Inter Miami match of the weekend at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, one of the most legendary stadiums in the country, hosted the Olympics way back when. And there are going to be some new faces outside of the Lionel Messi's and the Rodrigo de Pauls and the Suns and all the star power and the Hugo Lloris and just everything that comes with this match and the huge stadium. But new signing, as mentioned on a previous pod, Herman Bertarme, coming from CF Monterrey in the Mexican League. He put up 68 goals, 15 assists, and 153 appearances for the club, and he's going to be a huge addition for Inter Miami, who just keep adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. And then Steven Eustachio is a midfielder that is on loan to LAFC. He's a Canadian national from the Portuguese side, FC Porto. And this is going to be big for the player, as he's going to try and get a lot of minutes and get comfortable again on North American soil prior to hopefully breaking through considerably in the Canadian World Cup side. Moving forward, Portland Timbers, Columbus Crew on Saturday at San Diego FC, Montreal FC, and San Jose Earthquakes and Sporting KC also rounding up that slate on Saturday, the late night game, with Timo Werner making his first appearance for the San Jose Earthquakes, making his move from Red Bull Leipzig after playing for, I believe it was Chelsea and Tottenham and some more German sides. And he's just an outstanding player. And he just kind of fell out of favor at Red Bull Leipzig. He's toward the tail end of his career, but not completely out of his prime, I don't think. He's going to be a fantastic addition. And the San Jose Earthquakes still want to get one of their Grateful Dead shirts. So you guys let me know in the comments below if I should get one of those. On Sunday, we have the LA Galaxy hosting or playing New York City FC. The Seattle Sounders playing the Colorado Rapids to wrap up the MLS slate for this weekend. So MLS opening weekend, it's going to be live on Apple TV for most of us. They have all the games covered, and then there's some games that are going to be on Fox as well, and FS1 and FS2. So make sure you're tuned in this weekend to watch those. In addition to the Premier League in the morning, you're going to have soccer all day on Saturday and Sunday. And lastly, I needed to make a point about Arsenal today because many of you know I'm an Arsenal fan. I have my flag right there, and they completely bottled it. Absolutely bottled it today. They go up 2-0. They score in the 5th minute. Bukayo Saka heads home across from Declan Rice in the 5th minute. They go up 1-0. And you know what they do in typical Arsenal fashion is they sit on their hands for the rest of the first half against arguably the worst side to ever play in the Premier League. It just is unbelievable to me that they continue to do this every single week. It's the most boring brand of football, and it is starting to influence the rest of the league because they see, oh, you get a goal, and then this isn't even parking the bus because they're maintaining possession. It's having 65% possession, just going sideways and backwards the whole game. What are you doing? Win the game. You're it's like they forget who they are. You're the Arsenal. You're playing Wolves. No offense to the Wolves, because I love Wolves. Love the yellow. Love the mascot. The Wolverhampton Wanderers go by Wolves. Sick. However, they stink. Arsenal is the Arsenal. You have every single star. What are you doing? They go up 2-0 and they bottle it, and they score an own goal in the 94th or 95th minute, I think, to lose. And then Gabriel Jesus shoves a player after the match. What are we doing? I saw a tweet today. One of my friends sent me a tweet today. It said Arsenal is going to be the first club in football history that needs an offensive coordinator. Yeah, literally. I mean, it makes no sense. You're the best club in the world, and you're afraid. You spent all this money this offseason. You have guys Bukayo Saka, Noni Madueke, Gabriel Martinelli, Victor Gyökeres, Kai Havertz, Eber Chiesa, Gabriel Jesus, listen, Declan Rice, Martin Zubamendi, Jurian Timber, Piero Nkapia gets on the board today with a goal. What more? Martin Odegaard isn't even in the squad. You want Ethan Nwaneri. What are you doing? Play to win the game. Play to stomp people and stop playing timid. Because if you play timid, you're going to keep bottling and you're going to lose the league again. City is 5 points back with one game in hand, can go 2 points back with a win this weekend. It just disgusts me. I mean, I just don't even know what to think. I'm quite honestly pretty sick and tired of it, of talking about it. It really frustrates me because there is no. I think it was what was it? Well, the Warsaw plays Tottenham on Sunday, North London Derby, and if they lose that, they're in trouble. It's away. They need to win. So I'm so confident they have the squad to do it. It's just playing with confidence and playing with a little bit of swagger and wanting to step on someone's throat when they see that they're weak. Because I don't think Mikel Arteta likes to do that. I think he likes to get a goal and be comfortable and trust his back line, but then his back line concedes an own goal at the very end of the game. And go beat a team 4-0. Go beat a team 5-2. Go concede 2 goals. Who cares? Go concede twice and you win five by 3 goals. There you go. You don't need to win the clean sheet record to win the league. You need to stomp people and stop dropping points like this. That's all I got. Thank you guys for another great episode of PSNFC episode 6. I'm going to come back to you guys at some point next week in the middle of the week with another episode. But until then, be kind to each other. Love you all. Talk to you then. Bye.